Jeff, quit it. Put that thing down. Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew Studio. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order at bluechew.com. Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, My World listeners, you're in for a treat. Connie is in rare form as we were firing up the computers and getting on StreamYard here and getting these things getting ready to be cranked up. I can just tell you right now, Conrad is in rare form. Our crackpot producer, Waffle Stomping Mr. Silva, can probably attest to that. But folks, sit back, get ready. The reads may be crazy today. I have no idea what kind of notes. He just kept chuckling and kind of rolling his eyes and said, I got this. So, Connie, we got us a celebration here in the U.S., 250 years. Is that right? Or something like that.
What'd you do this past 4th of July? How did y'all celebrate? I know you were out of town a little bit this weekend, had a little bit of travel, but how did y'all celebrate the 4th?
Nice and easy. You know, they did a little ordinance in the city of Hendersonville. You can only shoot fireworks from 5 to 11 p.m. And I know dogs in this neighborhood, but where I live at, some folks like to shoot fireworks into midnight and 1 a.m. And back in the day, I used to be a part of that madness, but just kind of chilled, had a good old time. But Cats is rocking. Shoes baseball is off to the races. What else we got going on? Man, big week coming up. Little tune in here, tune in there. We're going to cap it off. Hall of Fame weekend out in Waterloo, Iowa. I'm excited, Conrad. We're in the dog days of summer, but I don't know. I'm a little, I don't know if I should say nervous. I don't really get nervous, but apprehension, man, I have no idea what you have up your sleeve. I know we've had a lot of fun the last month. Shark Boy and Chris Harris and the bus tour with my man Tony Falk and all kinds of stuff. So we got a special treat, and tonight we got a special treat.
Well, you know exactly what I got up my sleeve. I'm excited because it's finally here. We've talked about it for what feels like months, and Dark Side of the Ring is back tonight on Vice. It's a big doubleheader, part 1 and part 2 of the Vice series, all about TNA and Jeff Jarrett. It's not just one episode, it's 2 tonight, back to back on Vice. And a week from today, you'll get the final installation of this 3-part series, but then we'll continue to let the good times roll with the rest of this season of Dark Side of the Ring. So other fabulous content coming your way, episodes on Mr. Wonderful, the Big Boss Man, that infamous match maybe between Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher, and a whole lot more. But I can't tell you how excited I am. You know, I've had a chance to see a couple of screeners, I don't know, a month ago or so. And I'm really, really fired up that folks are finally going to hear from you and the Queen. And it's happening tonight on Vice. And immediately following the program, we're going to be live back here again at myworldpod.com. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications bell. Hell, set a reminder on your phone right now. Immediately following Vice, cruise on over to myworldpod.com, and we're going to talk about episode 1 and episode 2 of Dark Side of the Ring. We'll be talking about the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and taking your questions live, not just with Jeff, but with Karen too. And you're going to hear things you've never heard before. And Jeff, the internet wrestling community is finally going to hear from you on a variety of topics. They've never really heard from you. Are you excited? Are you anxious? Are you going to have a little viewing party at your house tonight? What's that look like?
You know, I don't, Conrad, you know, when we haven't really shared, to put it in context, all the, I don't know, I guess you could say mixed emotions that I had kind of even going into this. Oh man, Conrad, is this a good idea? Do I want to do this? And, you know, I guess you could say your guidance and maybe your thought-provoking questions. I don't know. I've got mixed emotions. The one thing that has really jumped off the page at me, and, you know, I didn't bitch, but I have repeated it a couple of times. Like I did 16, 17, 18 hours of interviews. And that's just one person. And I know, you know, important to this story, but man, Karen did 7 or 8 hours. And so there's all kinds of, you've seen the trailer, Father Jim Mitchell, Awesome Kong, D'Lo Brown, just Vice and Dark Side and Evan and the guys. I mean, they do a deep dive. And so a reason I'm saying all this, when I've seen some of the, I call it the teasers or the trailers or the tune in content, then there's even more of a picture here. So I more than anything, you can't make everybody happy. I've never been that delusional, but I am curious to kind of hear the feedback specifically on like folks going, "Oh, I wasn't aware of that," or maybe I did have that part of the story wrong, or whatever it may be. So, I give a lot of props to Evan, Jason, the Dark Side, the concept, but the deep dive, the editors, this, Conrad, because you've seen the screeners. They really dove deep like never before. So there will be comments and connect dots situation that have never been done. So I think that is something that I am excited about. That the story is some of this is 20 plus years old, is getting out there, and we still there's still little bits and pieces that aren't you just don't have enough time, but a lot of the stories getting out for the first time.
I'm pretty excited for folks to check it out. Again, it's part 1 and part 2 tonight on Vice. I think we've got a little trailer. Let's take a look.
With the wrestling mainstream consolidated under a single company, only one man dared to challenge the status quo.
I had the balls to step out at a time that I was young. Some people called me stupid, naive, idiot.
Jeff Jarrett was the only person who could have pulled off doing a company in opposition to Vince McMahon.
They said, don't do it, don't do it. And I didn't listen to any of them.
Let's get it on right now!
Jeff Jarrett's promotion disrupted the wrestling landscape and rewrote the rule book.
I wanted to create a brand of wrestling that was different.
Jeff built this new revolution in sports entertainment, in professional wrestling, and it's pissing off Vince, but there's nothing he can do about it.
We all had something to prove.
The story of TNA is so important in the history of pro wrestling. TNA was the underdog, it was the beacon of hope.
And then the whole thing went to shit.
As the foundation began to crack, a bitter power struggle erupted behind the scenes.
Dixie Carter, she divided and she conquered.
You want to bring in Hulk Hogan? Do I think it's going to work? Hell no.
Jeff had all the backstabbers backstabbing the backstabbers. It just got crazy. It was just one big, shit show.
Jeff wasn't screwing Kurt's wife. Jeff didn't take Kurt's wife. It was a fucking storyline.
I expect you to support me 100%.
It was embarrassing for everybody involved.
It's a hot mess. How do we survive this?
Wrestling is a fuck or be fucked.
I never gave a second thought that a big power play was coming.
Through triumph and turmoil, the company's journey mirrored that of its founder.
I felt sorry for him. He was so broken.
My drinking went from bad to worse. It was drink and get drunk and then blackout drunk. And I wouldn't go to the hospital.
He was killing himself.
It was clear that this was a different Jeff Jarrett than I had known and worked with for years.
Through it all, one inescapable truth emerged.
The story of TNA is the story of Jeff Jarrett because TNA is Jeff Jarrett.
It's a story of perseverance. There's tons of lessons you can learn from Jeff Jarrett.
Whether you are a success or whether you are a failure, it all starts with the person on top.
I get emotional thinking about some of the things that I've survived, but I think you can roll over and play dead and die a slow death, or you can get up and fight like hell.
It's happening tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Don't forget, it is a doubleheader. You'll get episode 1 and episode 2. So it'll be a 2-hour affair. Plan to join us tonight around 11 Eastern, 10 Central. I'm fired up. It's going to be past your bedtime, Jeff, but you're going to be facing a firing squad here tonight at myworldpod.com. Seeing that trailer, I know you've seen an advanced screener, and I know you lived it. You get a little tingle watching it back. What do you think?
You know, it is. I mean, look, I still, it's, you know, obviously the part about sobriety hits me hard. It's like, damn. You know, again, you know, you've asked me, and I've been asked, and I've done all the PR that they've asked, and again, I am grateful that I'm alive and survived and thriving in so many. I'm just super grateful for all of it. But man, as Karen said that day when she came in from downtown Nashville after recording her marathon session interview, she's like, Jeff, it's just exhausting. And I'm like, I hear you. So at the end of the day, I'll revert all the way back to Grandma Teeny. You know, at the end of the day, it is about the wrestling fan. So will a wrestling fan enjoy it? Will it, you know, I don't want to get too heavy in that, you know, I don't think it'll turn off folks, but maybe it will, on some wacky, crazy way that may be good for the industry, that go, okay, these guys are entertainers and they do risk a lot and there's a lot of moving parts, but at the end of the day, they're human, they're multi-flawed, but there is a relatable, connectable side to it. And for that, I respect it. And for that, I'm a fan of the business. So we'll see, man. It's yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, Conrad. They did a trailer about the Owen part of it. And it struck me as I watched the trailer back, and I've talked about that story, and we've talked about it on here, and I've done interviews and talked about Owen and with AEW and in treatment. I talked about, you know, that was a monster issue of me never giving myself the ability to grieve. But Conrad, I don't think, and I got to shout out to Stu Stone, the producer, the interviewer, the guy who sat not far from where I'm sitting right now, and all that. However, he asked the questions and thought provoking and with care, I don't think I've ever articulated parts of that Owen story like I did in this interview. And so that's where, you know, from the TV side of it, I tip my cap to them, because Dark Side, yes, they want to have a successful show, and that's about ratings, but they also deeply care about telling the story. And that's all I can ask.
Can't wait to see what you guys think of the story. Make plans to join us tonight, join the conversation, and it's going to be quoted everywhere. Be a part of real wrestling history tonight. Episodes 1 and 2 of Dark Side of the Ring, starting at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. 2 hours later, we'll be live at myworldpod.com with Jeff and Karen Jarrett. And that's what we're doing tonight on a Tuesday. But tomorrow night, I can't believe this is real, AEW has a mega show in Clearwater, Florida. And somehow, some way, MJF is going to be defending the world title against Kenny Omega. And if Kenny Omega is not successful in capturing the world title, he never gets a title shot again. We're also going to see Tommaso Ciampa and Chris Jericho hook it up. This is looking like a freaking loaded for bear show. And it's tomorrow night on Dynamite. How awesome is this, Jeff?
You know, Conrad, we've talked ad nauseum, and this is one of the things that I enjoy about the pod. And, you know, we have topics tonight. Today's episode, we're finishing with a strong interview. I'll let you go into the description of that, but just all kinds of things. But, you know, as we've kind of dialed in, and we've always talked about the big cards coming up, but how the business has evolved. When you look at AEW's roster, how deep it is where I was going with it, and all the different matchups. But at the end of the day, it is math. And how do you create not fresh matchups, but meaningful matchups? We are just 10 days, 12 days off past Forbidden Door, and now we're heading into, quote unquote, one of 52 Dynamites. And you just hit the nail on the head. You don't have one, but you have two big time main events. To me, it's huge. Omega, MJF in a world title match with that step, and then Chris and Tommaso. I mean, it's huge. So yeah, you can tell I'm fired up about the product that's going to be produced tomorrow night in Clearwater. Cool venue as well.
It's outdoors near the beach. I think you'll be able to see the water in the background.
Yep.
It's Beach Break, and tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. And of course, a couple of days later this week, I can't believe this is real. There's a post-game wrestling event that AEW is doing with the Minnesota Twins. Tickets are on sale now. You can get all that information, but I think the actual wrestling action goes down on July the 10th, right there in Minneapolis. I think it's going to get started around 9:30 Central. It's kind of a cool week for AEW and for Jeff Jarrett, but it's not over there, because this weekend, Jeff goes into what I think has to be at least his third Hall of Fame. Back in 2015, Jeff went into the TNA Hall of Fame. In 2018, into the WWE Hall of Fame. And now this weekend, in the 27th annual George Tragos Luthez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame induction weekend, it's going down in Waterloo, Iowa. And our pal Double J is taking home the prestigious Frank Gotch Award. This is one of the Hall of Fame's highest honors, recognizing an individual whose career has made a lasting impact on professional wrestling. I'm pretty excited about this. I hope you guys will check it out and try to support the TNT Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. But Jeff, what a crazy week for you, man. I know you did the big film premiere this past Sunday night in New York City, and tonight on Vice, the world gets to hear your story, warts and all, for the first time, really, at least 2 hours of it. Tomorrow night, the big AEW show. Then the Minnesota Twins have a little AEW action, and you go in the Hall of Fame. Is this like one of the best weeks you've had in a long time? Come on.
Well, it's dog days of summer. You know, the me and Satnam were in Minneapolis to kind of kick that thing off. And if you know anything about old Double J, he's got a soft spot for baseball parks and venues and kind of connecting America's favorite pastime in professional wrestling. And I'm telling you, the Twins organization, I was right next to the marketing rep that I didn't see the text, but I got the good vibes. And like the marketing person said, yeah, the owner loved this. So they were super excited from day one, which I love, absolutely love. And they're going to set the ring up. It's up in right field. So very cool. Get the ball game, and as soon as that final out, they're going to kick off wrestling up there. So I love that. But to the Hall of Fame, and you know, Conrad, Codes here in the house, he's asked about that. But Karen was asking, and you know, we would never mistake her for a wrestling historian, but she did ask a question. And I said, you know, TNA Hall of Fame, Karen was there, and it was you know, such a just kind of, you know, I founded the company, but at that time I was transitioning and had transitioned out. Anyway, that was a cool moment, but I kind of felt like, okay, that Jeff and my father, but my dad was estranged from it. So the WWE Hall of Fame, kind of another circumstances. My dad was there. We had reconciled. So it was a good feel-good moment. But Conrad, this one, from the minute you guys, assholes, Briscoe, you came on here and surprised me and caught me off guard and said the announcement. But this is super special for me because I look, my grandmother, they didn't even have these things really around. To me, and Cornette kind of really got into that on the dark side. I wish more of that could have aired, but you know, he talked about Christine Jarrett, the most successful female promoter in history. That's pretty lofty statements from old Corny, but being inducted into this, I really feel like that I get the opportunity to accept this on behalf of her and, of course, my father. NWA, touring champion, the legacy that goes with it. It would, I mean, you talk about putting a smile on both of their faces. Man, I don't regret and wish for things that are impossible, but man, oh man, Conrad, I think you would have to agree. It'd be really cool to see old Jerry Jarrett and Christine Jarrett on the stage, and they'll be there in spirit, but it would be, to me, that's one of the things that it's like, okay, they're absolutely going in there with me.
Who all from the Jarrett household is making the trip to Waterloo?
Well, you know what? We got a little juggling act going on right now because it's summertime, and one of my daughters is over in Tunisia as we speak right now. But Karen is for sure booked and codes, so that is a given. But we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, you might want to pack your new favorite gum. Of course, I'm talking about Lorenco. You know, Double J and the Queen, they're always looking for ways to upgrade their routines. And recently we all found out about Lorenco. This is a new chewing gum that actually makes your teeth stronger every time you use it. How cool is that? Lorenco is the better for you chewing gum that uses the same mineral your teeth are made of to support daily enamel health. Lorenco uses the actual mineral that your enamel is made of to strengthen your enamel or repair the damage. It also comes in tons of great flavors like mint. That's my personal favorite. My dad really likes cinnamon. My wife likes bubblegum. And who doesn't like berry? They also have a really great fluoride free toothpaste too. And I'm a huge fan of Lorenco's gum. I like the way it tastes. I like the flavors. I also like that the taste actually lasts. I think we've all had some gum where it feels like, hey, where'd all the flavor go? You're also going to love the way your mouth feels after. Your mouth will feel fresher. Your teeth will feel like they're whiter. And speaking of feeling, I think your teeth will be less sensitive to hot and cold. At least that's what it feels like for me. I think you're going to love making this gum a part of your new routine. I keep it in my vehicle. I keep some by the bed. As the kids would say, I keep that thing on me. You're absolutely going to love Lorenco. It feels good to know that you're helping keep your teeth strong and making healthy habits, but it's also a totally effortless way to make sure you're taking the best care of your teeth possible. And right now, Lorenco is offering our listeners up to 50% off at buylorene.com/myworld. That's buylorene, LARINE.com/myworld for up to 50% off. One more time. That's BUYLARINE.com/myworld. So Jeff, last week, towards the end of the week, we heard something that we've never heard before. And I'll admit, I never in a million years expected that stuff like this would be available. But then when you think about it, hey, it was a lawsuit. This was a part of Discovery. I guess some of this stuff is public record. But Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics and Post Wrestling, he posted some voice notes going back and forth between Vince McMahon and Ari Emanuel. And just hearing some of Vince's voice notes, I don't know. I felt awkward listening to it. I wanted to play some of these for you and give you a chance to take a listen and respond. So here we go. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
I spoke to my lawyer from Latham, just FYI. Everybody at the DOJ is former Latham lawyers. So on that side will be helpful. SEC, of course, it's SEC, but that's just a penalty. As it relates to everything else, yes, we can indemnify you, and we will. If it's criminal, of course, you can't stop criminal, but this is not criminal. Call me when you get a chance.
The voice you're hearing there is Ari Emanuel, and that was from September of 2022. The conversation, or the context, of course, is them discussing the federal investigations that Vince was facing from the US DOJ, or the Department of Justice, and the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And this is all about the shareholder lawsuit that's now since been settled and everybody's good. But, and I know the case is settled, but just hearing power brokers like this, like Ari Emanuel on tape talking about this stuff just feels weird. I think we've got a clip of Vince too. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Jeff, Vince, it's 10:13. Very good meeting with Ari and company. And I think it probably is the best thing to do to go forward with the deal with Ari. It solves a lot of problems. Again, together, I think it's a stronger situation than either one of us on our own. But I'm pretty sure that's the way I want to go now. It's easier, faster, and all that other kind of stuff. So let's talk in the morning. And I didn't commit to Ari, but let's talk in the morning and go. Jeff, thank you so much. Sorry to call you so late. We just broke up. Well, I just broke up with Ari. Was like an hour ago he left or something. And Linda, Stephanie and I and Nick were talking, so we just broke that up. So we'll talk in the morning. Thanks.
That's a voicemail left from December of 2022 that Vince was leaving for Jeff Sine of the Rain Group. And that's who was advising WWE through the whole sale process. And of course, you could hear there that he had just concluded a meeting with Ari Emanuel and obviously himself, his wife Linda, his daughter Stephanie, Nick Kahn, Paul Levesque, and Mark Shapiro. So you want to talk about the brain trust? They're all there on this meeting in December of 2022. And by the way, the lawsuit settled, so now it's all public, and we know that, hey, the stock has more than doubled since then. So there's nothing but success in the rearview mirror, but it still just feels awkward, kind of being able to eavesdrop on these calls. What do you think?
And because you'll know this question, because maybe our listeners, good old My World families listening, how is that like a forensic deal that they go back into the phone and grab the voicemail, and then how is that permissible to like it's settled? Isn't it closed? Like how is that, Conrad? And
They were pursuing a crime. The federal government was able to subpoena all the phone records. So they got all the emails, all the text messages, all the voice notes. That's the reason the Signal app and the communication that they had on that Signal app, which is an app that looks like some of our younger listeners are probably familiar with, but Snapchat, it has disappearing messages. So it's supposed to be a secure way to communicate where you kind of leave no trace. And a lot of people were scratching their head like, why would a wrestling company need to use that? Either way, though, in the end, WWE settled it and they've been hugely successful. So it's high fives all around. Everybody's making money. It's all put to bed now, but it's still just, I don't know, awkward.
Yeah. It's, look, I don't know. Yes, both publicly traded companies. So if they're talking public business, the shareholders have a rights, but it's like, damn, it's like, I don't know, Conrad, like never leave a voicemail that you don't want at it, no matter what it may, that to me is all fascinating when hearing Vince's voice, the familiar, I don't know, Conrad, and maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but you did hear him say, I didn't commit.
Yeah, no, I did. And I also think the phrase I loved is it solves a lot of problems. Again, together, I think it's a stronger situation than either one of us on our own. Now, either one of us on our own refers to UFC and WWE. Yes. If people were curious if it could coexist, I think we have our answer. It seems like it's working pretty good.
Well, that stock price, damn sure.
Yeah. I would love to. I mean, I know it doesn't exist anymore, and I know the technology is different, but like, wouldn't it be cool if you could somehow get a recording of a bunch of old voicemails that your dad left people on their answering machines? Like, wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, thinking of this dark side, I would give anything to have the conversations that me and Richard Scrusy had. Not that they're salacious or all this, but it would be, to me, fascinating because it was business conversations and maybe that's a personal thing, or the conversations that, because a lot of times Toby's touring and just he's doing shows or he's in Mexico or whatever, just busy, Conrad, I don't know. I'm sure you do got buddies, but a lot of times I'll do voice text now because it's a lot easier than typing a bunch of words. But, me and Toby's conversations, me and Scrushy's conversations, just those kind of things. So Ari and Vince, you got to eavesdrop on how they communicate. I think it's very fascinating. I think when we were texting, when I heard the first one, I just said, this is so interesting to me. You can tell to me quite a bit about their personality on how they, you heard the merger conversation. We heard it, we heard essentially kind of the crux of it and, $2 billion organizations and just like, they'll never make another Ari Emanuel. They don't, they damn sure ain't going to make another Vince McMahon. It's just different. I just think it's fascinating how it all, that I was shocked that they had the ability. I just think it's fascinating that from a historical perspective, the WWF, a regional promotion, WWF, and now the next evolution was that it merged and it's this $1 billion global and it just started as an old wrestling biz up in Maine or DC or wherever you like to say Vince's origins are. But it's pretty cool to me. Bit of history.
If there was tape of any business conversation that you could be privy to and you could have recordings of that your dad made through the years, which ones would you be most interested to go back and listen?
Man, the what ifs. A Fritz conversation or two, a Vern conversation or two, a Crockett conversation or two. No, this, you're hitting me with stuff. I'd love to hear Eddie Graham's response.
The NWA meeting where he broke off, that's the conversation you hear, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. If you gave me some thoughts, yes.
Like the idea, just to give everybody the story. Well, you give everybody the story, Jeff. Of
you're better at, because you lay out the true impact and groundwork of it.
So Bruce often makes the joke about how in the South, hey, these guys always sold territories, and it was just a big scam. You're not buying anything, you're not getting anything. Anybody can run anywhere. It's all make believe. But it was a gentleman's agreement. And once upon a time, as the story goes, your dad bought into the Goulas territory, and the Goulas territory was strong in Tennessee and obviously other areas, right? That ultimately your dad wound up running. And he thought, hey, I'll get a piece of one town and then I'll get a little more and then I'll buy in. And he's writing big checks as a pro wrestler and thinks he owns part of the territory. And then he finds out that in fact, no, he bought an option to buy into the territory. He didn't own anything. And for the first time ever at the NWA meeting, somebody stood up and said, nope, that ain't going to work for me. And that was your dad. And nobody had ever stood up and done that before. And it kind of split the board where some people had to decide, are we with Nick Goulas or are we with Jerry Jarrett? And in the end, goodbye. Jerry Jarrett took over and there was a new king of Memphis, and it was Jerry Jarrett, and then it was Jerry Lawler, and they were off to the races. But it is fascinating to think back through that history of, hey, if you could hear one conversation, what would it be? Like, I think on the Eric Bischoff side, if you think about the history of WCW, I might want to hear that conversation between Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff where Nitro was created.
Yep.
But I think even more, I'd like to hear Eric Bischoff try to sell Hulk Hogan on being a bad guy.
Oh,
I think that would be fascinating. And I think from a Vince standpoint, because I was thinking about this, like, what if you could hear one business conversation? It might be where he bought out the other owners that his dad had partners with in the original Capital Sports or WWWF. Like, I don't know anything about Phil Zacco, and I'd love to know, what he was saying to Scotland and Gorilla. Like, I think that could be interesting. What a young Vince was having to sell or pitch or spin or present. Just what did the sales job look like? I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying, it created this incredible juggernaut of a company, but it started with those conversations, right?
Fascinating. I didn't have any idea we'd get into this day, but you hit the neck. To me, as a wrestling historian, if you could uncover those type of, because, God rest my dad's soul, 20 and 30 and 40 years later, you're just not going to have the exact recall. But boy, oh boy, if you heard those real conversations, shit, yes, I'd love, as a Jeff Jarrett, going back in time, me and Kevin K's early conversations. Just, that's because, and again, it's context. It was a different time, different era. Just wrestling in 05, it just was not where it is today. It wasn't, it was coming off the Attitude Era. And just to hear him coming off a bad relationship, and he would many times circle back to kind of revenge stories. He did, I don't know about revenge stories, his bad taste that he had with WWE. I don't know. Yeah. When you're talking territories too, kid, the conversations that my dad had with Vince in that 92, 93, the Sunday afternoon conversations, those to me would be fascinating as well, because where's Vince's head that he had at that point 7, 8, 9, 10 WrestleManias, but he's facing trial, and what would be the real next steps if something went south in that trial? I don't know. We could that's a whole different kind of what if conversation.
When you think about the relationship that your dad had with Jerry Lawler, was there another relationship like that in wrestling history? Like, I know if we play that tape fast forward, you might say, well, maybe Hulk Hogan and Vince. But the big differentiator there is Jerry Lawler had ownership interest. Hogan never did.
Yeah.
Was there anybody who it was like, because I do feel like that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, Vern Gagne wouldn't pay Hulk Hogan merch. He kept all of Hogan's merch money. So he was certainly not interested in giving any ownership. But do you remember a territory that was successful and sustainable with someone who had the relationship the two Jerrys do? Because it does feel fairly unique.
Well, that is where, again, as time goes on, I'm not going to say, loved him and thought a lot of him and my dad, all this, but kind of respect on pretty innovative in that. How do I keep my top star in a meaningful way and balance everything? And, there was almost a power play from Lawler. It almost went to shit because of my dad playing the balancing act, if you will, in that that's when Lawler, that there was a time when there was almost a wedge divided on that, but their relationship, I think, is kind of from a historical perspective, because you just nailed it. The biggest what if in WWF history would be if, as you pointed out on here a couple of times, if Hulk would have gotten some points in the WWF, there is no NWO, so to speak. There is, history would definitely be changed. So, you just mentioned Vern, Fritz, Eddie Graham, Crockett certainly never cut in on any talent. To my knowledge, a lot of times, like a Watts was a talent and then took over different towns and started his own territory. But that relationship was so fruitful for both of them for years and years and years. Just the drastic effect that it had on the creative process. Hey, Lawler, you're booking for the next 6 months. Hey, Jerry Jarrett, you're going to take it back and book. And maybe there's ebbs and flows in there sometimes, but that in and of itself is also kind of revolutionary if you really drill it down, in that most of the time the creative head stays. And, Vince has had different lead writers and different assistant bookers and this and that. He always ran the show. Tony's always running the show. It just kind of the nature of the beast. So, yeah, I think that that relationship is historical in that perspective.
Well, you always say here on the program, you always make the music analogy. Hey, is it the song or the singer? And I think your dad realized, hey, you know what? If I lock Jerry Lawler up, it doesn't matter. Whether it's my song or it's his singing, I'm good. And I know that sometimes that gets lost in translation. And I know you recently did an interview with our pal, Chris Van Vliet, and you guys talked about the whole narrative about you being champion in TNA. But the reality is, you're not going to leave yourself. You've got all this money on the line. You're financially invested in the future. I think the same could be said for Jerry Lawler. I know a lot of people have always said, hey, why didn't Lawler just leave and go to the NWA and become the NWA world champion? Or, hey, why didn't Lawler try to jump to WCW? Or, hey, why didn't Lawler, just move to New York and work for Vince in those days? I mean, he could have certainly done something in the 80s. He didn't have to stay in Memphis. But your dad made sure he wanted to stay in Memphis. So long term, it was a savvy play for everybody. But most of the guys in your dad's seat, they don't give up that equity too easily. I mean, Vern certainly didn't. Vince certainly didn't, but your dad did. And I think that's what makes your family story so interesting. I can't wait for folks to check it out tonight. And I can't wait for you to try Factor. I don't know if you're in the loop on this, but it's It's changed Double J's life. You hear him get excited because Factor has meals that are built around your goals. Whether you're looking for weight loss or overall nutrition, or maybe you just need more protein, or hey, dude, maybe you need some GLP-1 support. I want to tell you right now, for strength and workout recovery, you should check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection. That's what Double J's using. And here's why he loves Factor. It's fresh, never frozen, and they've got over 100 rotating weekly meals, including globally inspired flavors like Mediterranean and Asian. What I'm saying is there's always something new to look forward to. They've also got lots of other add-ons that you can round out your nutrition with. I'm talking like peanut butter energy bites and little snacks. Double J loves those. But here's what you'll love most about Factor: the convenience, big dog. It's ready in 2 minutes. Factor's going to handle the shopping, the prepping, the cooking, and it delivers right to your door. So you've got more time to do everything else you need this summer. Seriously, you just take it out of the box, pop that plastic, bam, slide it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, man, you're eating good in the neighborhood, dude. You're going to love Factor. I've never put somebody on Factor who didn't love the food. And they love the flexibility that you can sort of build your own meals and get as many as you need. You can set it up on a subscription. You can just order when you need it. But once you try Factor and you see how easy it is and how tasty it is and how affordable it is, as my pal JR would say, you're going to be in a reorder situation. Go right now to factormeals.com/myworld50 off. Use that promo code myworld50 off and you'll get 50% off. Plus, you'll get free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See website for details. One more time, go right now, factormeals.com/myworld50 off.
Connie, come in close here, as my pastor used to say. The entire Tennessee Titans head coach, but their entire organization removed all seed oils, everything from the facility. Factor Meals, and that's why I just want to, this is, yes, it's an ad read, but I cannot tell you, in the dog days of summer, there's so many benefits. You don't have to get your kitchen all hot to fix you a nutritious meal, but no artificial sweeteners, the fructose, high fructose syrup and all that nonsense, no seed oils. I'm telling you, folks, 2 minutes, nutritious meal. You can't, it changed Double J's eating habits. I'll say that, to the better.
Yeah, they've got over 100 banned ingredients. You know, they're looking out for you. They want vibrant, real, nutrient dense food. Double J's done the research. You can take a look at them and see it really works. Go try it right now. Factor Meals, MyWorld50 off. Hey, so listen, we've been talking a little bit about Hulk Hogan. Today is a real big anniversary. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about something that our pals over at the Laps Fan recently found. And I don't know that you even saw this, but our pals over there are doing a series called The Complete Hulk Hogan. And when I say complete, I mean it. They're getting so granular, Jeff. They're breaking down Hogan's entire career, what feels like month by month, week by week, day by day, all the way through the territories. And it's pretty fascinating what they've been able to find. But something they found that had a little Memphis association with it, I wanted to point out to you, is from Michael O'Hara. And he was interviewed by the guys at the Labs Fan, and he was the founder of Hulk Hogan's very first fan club. And he actually helped the real life Terry Bollea create what's, I guess, his first wrestling resume. He met him at a fan convention in Memphis in July of 1979. This is when Hogan is working in Memphis as Terry the Hulk Boulder. And Michael told the Labs Fan that he thought he still had the resume somewhere in storage and he would go looking for it. And by God, he found it. This is the original, the very resume that O'Hara delivered by hand to Arnold Skaaland and Angelo Savoldi in the Holland Hotel in Times Square. At the time, that was the WWF's headquarters. And it's interesting because there is no mention here of the Atlanta Sterling Golden, because he put this together prior to Terry's arrival in Georgia. That happened in September of 79. So there's some white out here over the typos, but otherwise this is the same version that they delivered to the WWF. And notice, I mean, I know we talk about it all the time. I joke and say that our buddy Jeff is like the Forrest Gump of wrestling, but check out this resume. This is Hogan's first resume made by a fan that he met in Memphis in 79. Who's the current employer? Jarrett Welch Wrestling. He lists his height, his weight, his measurements for his waist, his chest, his biceps, and his neck. He lists his favorite holds. He lists his hobbies. And then check this out. Terry Boulder is currently main eventing on the Memphis, Tennessee circuit. He's extremely polished, and he definitely has the ability to make it as a true wrestling legend. Terry is a dedicated athlete who trains 6 days a week. His strength is awesome, and for such a large man, speed is uncanny. Terry has a great ability to build up a match and a gift for public speaking. He's never at a loss for words, and he's one of the most charismatic new faces in wrestling today. He would also continue, I feel he would be an asset to the WWF due to his height, weight, strength, physical appearance, and his great drawing power. He would be an excellent opponent for WWF champion Bob Backlund. So this is the resume that ultimately gets Hulk Hogan a shot to go work for Vince Sr. This predates Vince Jr.
That's 79.
Yes. So he's going to go up there, work with Blassie, the whole thing. We've seen that footage. But how did it all become possible? His resume was made by a fan he met in Memphis, and that was it. How wild is that, Jeff?
And what kickstarted this is on our bus tour at Ring Classics, that is such a unique concept. But when we went by 110 The Landings over on Old Hickory Lake, in the basement of that house, next to my bedroom, the 6-sided bedroom, they had the video made with my stepmom holding a table lamp with no shade on it to give the lighting. And that's how he kickstarted that, his first run in Memphis. Damn, Conrad. Michael puts in there, he has a gift for public speaking. Not a good promo. Not, he has a gift for public speaking. But man, that is freaking awesome. Let me ask you something, Conrad. This has just been kind of revealed. Can you imagine? I'd love to see my dad's response to that. It would make him, that's a real cool, and Jarrett Welch Wrestling was still,
it's on Hulk Hogan's first resume. It's the reference he used to get hired by Vince McMahon Sr.
Which is crazy. And technically speaking, I think on the checking accounts, the Jarrett Welch had gone away
by that point. Yeah.
But Michael didn't know that, is what I'm saying. I just, that's interesting. That's cool, man. That's really cool. I mean,
it is cool.
I don't get too excited here, but that kind of gets me, I don't know, giddy. You know what I mean? The historical, like the Hall of Fame coming up, and I know there's a time limit and I won't go over the time limit, but that's the kind of, I've said it so many times, my grandmother deciding to take a second job changed everything.
It didn't just change your life or your dad's life. It changed professional wrestling.
Well, that's cool to say, but I mean,
it did. I mean, I'm not saying that these people still may not have been stars, but let's run through it. I'm just going to name some names, and then you say yes or no if they came through Memphis when they were first getting started. Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Sting.
Yep.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Yep.
Mick Foley.
Yep.
The Rock.
Yep.
Steve Austin.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, we could go on and on and on. I mean, Sid Vicious. I mean, all the way through the list. Like, it was a who's who of pro wrestling. Freaking Onita, the king of the death match. He was here. And so were Ricky and Robert, and so were the Rock and Rolls, and so was Paul Heyman, and so was Jim Cornette, and. Like, it's unbelievable the impact that your family has had on wrestling. And before everybody watches the Dark Side of the Ring tonight, I wanted to just show you, hey, there's another little connective piece of tissue in history there from the biggest star in the history of the world of professional wrestling. That's Hulk Hogan. Now, coming up in a few minutes, we do have a sit-down interview with the Queen. And I'm pretty excited that we're going to have Karen Jarrett here. Now, I want you to know that you're going to see this before Dark Side of the Ring. But if you have a question after you watch today's episode or you listen to today's episode, be sure to make an appointment to join us tonight. The Queen will be live. And let me go ahead and give you a spoiler. she steals the show. The world is going to fall in love with Karen Jarrett, or they're damn sure going to be talking about her. And you can ask her a question. But I will tell you this. Her husband used to wear a shirt on TV that I think she will probably be wearing in mind only tonight. Don't piss me off. She's going to be ready, guns a-blazing. Make plans to join us, myworldpod.com. I'm just going to tell you, Miss Jarrett ain't got no front brakes, as we like to say here in the South. And we may or may not have to scrub it from the internet before everybody can aggregate it and clip it up and quote it everywhere and get everybody involved canceled. But if you're there with us live, well, then you heard it. Hit that subscribe button, myworldpod.com.
You just gave me an idea. Seriously. I need to get her to get a "Don't Piss Me." I got a few here in the house, a "Don't Piss Me Off" t-shirt, have her cut it all up. That slogan was really, who would have thought 28 years later that's her catchphrase, not mine. Would you agree, Connie? You said no front
a million trillion %. Like, you got to get it. If we can get that in a lady's tank top, we should do it and make it happen for her.
That's good. That's good.
Hey, so let's talk a little bit about the anniversary that is today. And I know we're all excited about Vice tonight, and I hope everybody checks out Dark Side of the Ring. I myself am fired up for it. But today is the 30-year anniversary of Hulk Hogan turning heel. And I think you could make an argument about its place in history. So I wanted to throw it to you, because you have kept up with the industry going back generations now. It's literally in your blood. You know it forwards, backwards, inside and out. You know it from an office perspective. You've booked arenas. You've handled creative. You've had to hire and fire. You've been hired and fired. There's nothing you've pretty much not done in the wrestling biz. But if you had to put into context how important in the grand scheme of things, Hulk Hogan turning heel 30 years ago today at Bash at the Beach 1996, joining the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, as the trash rains in and Mean Gene holds the microphone. But it's not the red and yellow Hulkamania anymore. It's not about saying your prayers and eating your vitamins. No, now it's about these fans can stick it, brother. Historically, where does that moment rank in wrestling history, do you think?
So you mentioned on the voicemail deal. Can you give me a little context? Because I've definitely got an answer for this. Was it a difficult job for Eric to sell it to him? And I know, you hear, and maybe I don't know the story, the concise elevator version. He didn't want to do it till Eric sold him the goods on it. Is that
so? Hogan shows up. They immediately set a record in WCW because they do Bash at the Beach 94. It's Flair versus Hogan on pay-per-view for the first time. They've got Shaq there. They've got Mr. T there. They've got Michael Buffer there.
Yeah.
It does a record gate. It does, record buy rate. It's a home run. And then fast forward and they start to do the Dungeon of Doom just to make Hulk comfortable. And the WCW fans, aka old Jim Crockett Promotions fans, they're not buying it. So more and more you see discontent, boos. You never heard that. It was always the women and the children going bananas for Hulk Hogan. But now you're hearing a lot of adult boos, and they get a little louder and a little louder. In the fall of 95, they try Hulk Hogan in all black. They even have the son of Andre come in and shave off his mustache, and they're talking about the dark side of Hulkamania. It doesn't really go anywhere. And somewhere in here, allegedly, as the story goes, Bischoff asks him, hey, what if we tried just going all the way with this and tried to be a heel? And without being kicked out of his house, Eric tells the story that Hulkster pretty much shut the meeting down and thanked him for coming by and said something along the lines of, until you walk a mile in my yellow boots, you'll never understand. The idea being, that's never going to happen.
Yep.
Thanks, but no thanks. And then Scott Hall walks down those steps. And the week after that, he shows back up and he tells Eric Bischoff, next week, I'm bringing my buddy. And then here comes Kevin Nash. And the week after that, there goes Eric Bischoff flying through the stage, being jackknife powerbombed on pay-per-view. The WWF is suing WCW and the whole world is paying attention. And Eric's phone rings and Hogan has reconsidered.
Mm-hmm.
He heard the money truck backing up and he decided they can swing through my house too. And he walked down the aisle that day, and nobody was sure, as the story goes, until he actually came out what he was going to do. And as the story goes, Kevin Sullivan was so nervous that this could get canceled at the last minute that he had the Hulkster stay at his house. So Kevin Sullivan is hosting the Hulkster, and he's keeping somebody a watch on Hulkster's phone. Kevin Sullivan even told me once that he had someone pull the battery off the back of Hulk Hogan's cell phone, so his agent couldn't call and talk him out of it. Apparently his agent, Linda, and others were all dead set against, throwing the baby out with the bathwater and throwing away all this goodwill and all the merchandise sales going back to the early 80s. Hey, we got 15 years of success here. We can't do this. But somehow, some way they did. And the wrestling world collectively gasped. And I don't know that wrestling was ever really the same. It does feel like when people talk about wrestling at its peak, yes, they talk about Hulkamania in the 80s, but it feels like more often than not for the past 15, 20 years, we talk about the Attitude Era. And I know that's technically on another channel, but I think most people would agree this moment helped create the Attitude Era. And what's really fascinating about it is this is just a couple of weeks after the Austin 316 promo. That was the June WWF pay-per-view. And now here is the final scene in the July WCW pay-per-view. Now, this was a plan. The Austin thing was not a plan. They clearly did not have a plan for him, and he just organically forced some change. But as we're taking a look at some of these shots at myworldpod.com, it feels historic all these years later, Jeff.
So Stone Cold was June. This is July.
Yes.
Of 96.
Yes.
Brett and Stone Cold was that match was what month? Because I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay, so Austin and the King of the Ring thing was 2 weeks prior to this. Yeah. And so that would have been June of 96. The match I think you're talking about, Brett's return match, is at Survivor Series in November. But the double turn that they're still talking about is WrestleMania 13 in March of 97.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But November is the first Brett in Austin.
And that following Survivor Series is the Montreal.
Yes.
Okay. When you put it on paper and look at the timeline, and you could say that the momentum started, they launched Raw, but they weren't doing, you pointed out, then they launched Nitro, and there's been so many quote unquote heel turns or whatever it is in wrestling, and I won't get into all the territories because there's been some great ones, but on a scale, the most impactful, nobody saw this coming. Even if you wanted to say boo birds, that happens all the time. It happened. Damn, Cena's almost his entire career, top babyface, that would get booed from, a section of the male audience. You have to put this as I can't say match, but man, oh man, the explosion. This kickstarted the attitude. We call it the Attitude Era, but Hogan, top babyface, switches to top heel with a new attitude, and yes, Stone Cold, and just all that. But Steve was coming up through the ranks. To me, it was the fire that exploded everything. I think it's the biggest turn in professional wrestling history because you got to have impact, and most heels that turn babyface, unless you really have, as the old mentality goes, unless you really have 3-4 heels, maybe more than that, ready to roll, or 3-4 baby faces ready to roll, because when the top dog switches, you better have bullets in the gun. Conrad, it is in my opinion, the single biggest heel turn in history that ignited an era that, again, timing's everything, but the golden age of cable television, it will never be, we won't go back in time. Now you have 7 or 8 streaming platforms and yada, yada, yada. But as far as eyeballs on a product, that 96, as we're talking through 2000, the amount of eyeballs, and Hogan, who is on the cover of Sports Illustrated and WrestleMania 1 through 9 and all that kind of stuff. It was the brand of professional wrestling. People knew Hulk Hogan synonymous with professional wrestling, and he was the only one. You have to say this is the moment that the business fundamentally shifted off of this switch.
I totally agree. And I think you could make an argument. I'm not saying it is, but I think you could make an argument that it might be one of the biggest, if not the biggest moment in wrestling history. I know people point to the first WrestleMania, but that was really an all hands on deck effort to promote a show. And I don't know that necessarily Hogan beating Iron Sheik for the world title. Yeah, that was, a babyface beating a villain.
That was
for a
passing
title.
hard. I did multiple interviews, and as I look back on, sorry to interrupt, but as I look back on that, professional wrestling transitioned to sports entertainment on the Arnold Skull and throwing in the towel.
Yes,
literally, the prophetically, visually.
That was throwing in the towel on the old way of doing pro wrestling.
There you go.
Yeah.
But man, oh man. And we, single events, matches.
Like WrestleMania 3, people always talk about Hogan Andre, and I get the body slam's a big deal. But was that a bigger deal than Hogan becoming a bad guy? I'm not talking about, hey, was it important to the people? I'm saying moving forward, did the business change as a result? And yes, the business got stronger after he slammed the giant, but I think they were already doing really, really gangbuster business. So I don't know that it was, but it does feel like WCW and even the wrestling industry, there is a before and after of the NWO, pre NWO and then post NWO. I think it changed not only, the industry to make it more updated and get rid of some of the silly over the top occupational gimmicks and things like that, but it also brought in, and I know some people say that this may have killed the business, but it really prioritized cool heels. Cool heels weren't even a thing really prior to this. And now you've got mega merch being moved for bad guys. It's different.
Yeah. Yes. Kickstart. Yeah. But, it's called the Attitude Era, and the turn put the attitude in the era.
I do want to ask you, at the time you're wrestling in the USWA. So this is, summer of 96.
Oh,
so the day after this Bash at the Beach 96, you're in Memphis working with Brian Christopher for the USWA belt, and you're going to work with Doug Gilbert and you're going to work with Sid Vicious, but that's kind of what you're doing here. And we'll call it summer 96. I know this sounds silly, but I'm just going to ask, were you buying WCW pay-per-views back then? Did you watch this live? Would you have been working a show? Did somebody tell you about? How do you hear about Hulk Hogan turning heel? And did you get wind that, hey, Hogan may turn this weekend, or did you find out after the fact?
I did watch it live. That would be, I don't vividly remember be watching it live. And we could probably look up, did I wrestle that day? Or did I wrestle the night before and I had a Sunday off and I spent it on the lake, or, something along those lines. But
Cage Match doesn't have it. I know the next night you were in Memphis.
Okay. And I think I've told you the story of when Nitro came on the air. I was off. I'd have to put it together, but yeah, it was fall of 95, correct? That's yeah. Anyway, me and my dad watched many of the early Nitros together, and just kind of the underlying deal was, oh, wow, live, this has got to feel to Memphis to it. It's episodic, and I'm just because that's our set point. So we watched a lot of Nitros together. I remember his couch and where it was and how he would, we thought it was very cool that wrestling's in prime time on freaking TBS. It had been on Saturdays and he had gone down and booked and promoted, but getting a primetime slot, and yes, Raw had kickstarted that. It was on Mondays, but that live Mall of America and the ones that happened afterwards, it was so no, Conrad, I was told about it. Maybe a Randy Hales brought us the clip because he, tape traders or connections or any of that. So, but I don't remember, vividly the first time I saw it.
Do you remember having a reaction to Hulk Hogan being a heel?
Yeah, it was okay, good. He obviously, if you go back in that time, it would be okay. The business needed it. They something wasn't clicking. Ratings, ticket sales. WCW, as you are aware, we used to be like WCW drew how many people in Topeka, Kansas? And Lawler in his work bag, he would have an observer or a torch or whatever it is, and you'd see, that we're on a crappy house in Memphis, but wait a minute, guys, look at the number they're doing over here, and it's a worldwide touring company, and to make that show, you've got 16 flights or 18 flights, and this, and this, and a bunch of rented cars, and just comparative speaking. So knowing we're in these early to mid 90s business, Hogan switching heel wasn't, hey, we got an idea, we need to do something, and they pulled the trigger on it. That was the mentality that I remember processing.
How did your brain work at the time? You've recently walked out on Vince. You're not, you agreed to disagree, weren't happy there. You're working USWA. Were you thinking, hey, I'd like to be in WCW? That would be a good spot for me. And when Hogan turned, did you feel like, hey, this is going to be big, I want to be there? We know ultimately you do come in that fall.
Yeah. When Nitro was rolling, that obviously attracted, like, that's kind of where I didn't finish that loop of the story. That when it came on the air and I was out of contract, and the excitement and the buzz and the live nature of it, at WWF 93, yes, you did pay-per-view lives, but TV on Raw, there was only 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 live episodes. And I was born and raised. That was kind of a disappointment when I first went to WWF. There wasn't a lot of live content, and I used to be kind of disappointed when enhancement matches would be going on and they would have the enhancement guys and maybe not very polished at times. And you'd go out and, the guy wouldn't take the finish right, or it'd be something, and you would just redo the match. And Vince didn't like something. Guys would come through the curtain saying, don't go get dressed. We're doing that again in 10 minutes. Go have the same match in front of the same people, that type deal. So the live, God, the business has changed so much. The live component of Nitro excited me. So yes, the shorter answer is it had a buzz. To me, Nitro had a big buzz before the turn. This took it to another level.
I do want to ask, when you think back on, this moment in time, Hulk Hogan turning heel, it almost feels like, and I don't know this to be sure, I want to ask, like, do you think that allowed other wrestlers to feel more open to reinventing themselves or changing their character around? Because it does feel like a lot of guys from maybe that generation or the generation before, man, once they have some success with one, we'll call it gimmick, one character, man, they just really hang on to it, and they would hang their hat on it, and it would make a living for them forever. And even during the territory days, like, hey, if it started to get slow for you creatively, well, you literally just packed up and moved to another territory, but you kind of kept that same character with you. And I'm not necessarily talking about, hey, he's a good guy in this territory or a bad guy in that territory, but with the same fans. And I know that, turns are not necessarily a new thing, but this is like a tippy top star, a guy who has made help lift the whole business. And I'm wondering, hey, if a guy like that is willing to take a risk, that's got to be inspiring to other guys who aren't sure, right?
Well, when he took it, nothing was guaranteed. It looked like it clicked, but I don't think anybody, Eric Bischoff included, would have said the night he dropped the leg that for the next 83 weeks, pardon the pun, that we're going to beat him in ratings. I'm being a little facetious here, but I don't think anybody could predict that. And you look at Hulk when he came out. I mean, I'm sure you guys have. I mean, he was skinnier. He was a TV quote unquote. Yes, he was in wrestling, but he had done his movies and done his TV shows, and whether it's that to me, quote unquote, that's a skinny Hulk. It's that is not Hulk slamming Andre. That is not Hulk Warrior. That is not Hulk Savage. That isn't the Hulk Hogan. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination, Scott and Kevin are both probably 20 pounds, 25 pounds heavier than he is at that point. So I just don't think anybody could really predict the success that it would have. I think sure everybody's optimistic, but it's easy to sit here today, Conrad, and go, okay, that's WWF invading WCW, but there was no predictors. And yes, it's Bruno never switched. And you can look at Dusty when the American Dream got rolling and him switching, or Fritz and just the boys, Kevin, Kerry, none of those guys ever switched heel. We could kind of go through each territory, and you just had that legendary Crusher, Dick just whoever it may be. So on a national stage, this set the blueprint. So the answer to your question is, yeah, but I think it's so easy to say now that back in those days, it's like, okay, it was time. Obviously, Hulk thought it was time for him to switch heel. I hope it's successful for him. But nobody could have really predicted that. Here we go with the NWO in 83 weeks. No, I don't think anybody could have said, yep, that was at the time. So, I think hindsight obviously is so much more. The clarity really comes in. Every day we get further and further away from it. You just, you look at it, and now we kind of have a comp with Cena. We've had a couple of comps with Rock. There's some comps thrown in there now. And Hogan's run, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, and not till he faced Rock at that Mania, you're going to be better at this. But the people paid homage to him that night, like, hey, dude, you took us through the golden era and you took us through the attitude era. We're about ready to cheer your ass. That's how much we respect and love you.
Do you think a moment like that, the turn 30 years ago today, could it even exist in the social media era? What would it even be like today?
There's a new, different version of it. Again, Hulkamania was built off of, let's say, when the boob tube and the television, when the means of distribution is the clearest safe to say, you had the options. This is where people listening to this that are under, even 30 or 40, it's hard to comprehend. Your means of consuming content were about 7 or 8 TV channels in the Hogan Hulkamania years. Then you went to cable, and you had about 20 to 30, no social media. And then the internet started coming along. And so you did have the internet underbelly. And then, Conrad, that's why today you have Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is stronger than NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, CW. I could go on and on and on. Like, one guy on YouTube is stronger than all the other means of distribution in the past. So there's no such thing as comparing apples to apples. It's not even, it's silly to go there. So no, it could not happen today.
Well, something that can happen for you is the best sex of your life. Sponsored by Blue Chew Gold, just like today's episode. I saw a Blue Chew wrapper on the street the other day. I call that the Walk of Fame. Blue Chew Gold is better sex in a tablet. What they've done is combine 4 ingredients into one powerful solution. We got 2 ingredients to get you hard physically and 2 to support arousal and desire in the brain. Blue Chew Gold works fast and it lasts. Guys can have a complete experience in the bedroom with Blue Chew Gold. There's a reason Blue Chew is the #1 brand for better sex. Experience it yourself at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the 3rd for free with the promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast and the bedroom. And Jeff, without further ado, it's time for the Queen to join us. This was filmed at our get together over at ringclassics.com. We're doing 3 or 4 of these a year. We've already had Eric Bischoff have a monster Atlanta WCW themed weekend. Jeff Jarrett has hooked it up in Nashville. And this October, we're taking the show on the road to Tampa. Make plans to join us. There's going to be something for everybody, but we haven't heard from the Queen very often here on the program. I'm excited for you guys to check it out. And don't forget, set your clocks for tonight. myworldpod.com immediately following Dark Side of the Ring episodes 1 and 2. Those are going to air on Vice at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. So tonight at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, we'll be live right here at myworldpod.com with the King and the Queen. Check it out. Enjoy Karen. Enjoy Dark Side. And we'll see you tonight right here on My World.
Peace.
Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Queen, Miss Karen Jarrett. How are you, Mrs. Jarrett?
There's a first time for everything.
And you and I were joined by a special guest this morning.
Yes.
Better late than never.
Yes.
Your favorite wrestler and mine.
Yes.
Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, kind sir?
Oh, Connie. Again, as we start another episode like this, a little different doing it face to face in person with a live studio audience. Yeah, it does. It makes it new energy. I'm not real sure how we're going to navigate through this because, yes, I was running a few minutes late, and the Queen rolled out of bed early. I woke up, and really, she was in the midst of changing from her pajamas into her running around clothes. And I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm going to get donuts."
That's not exactly what you said.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep it clean. We got children.
Poor, pitiful Jeff.
Yeah, no. She said,
there was no poor, pitiful Jeff at the house this morning.
Okay, well.
But there you go.
I think we're all happy. Well, of course, Miss Karen, we're celebrating 40 years of your lovely husband's wrestling career this year. Yes. And we celebrated with a weekend here in Nashville. And I've always been curious, like, what did you know of Jeff and his family history when you first met Jeff? I mean, I know that you had been around the wrestling business, but were you familiar with Jeff's family history?
I was not. And
I'll say this. I've never heard this answer. This is good for me.
I wasn't a big fan of yours, to be honest.
Me neither.
I mean,
he grows on you.
He does.
Yes.
He does.
Yes.
I think when you only see how someone's performing out there, and that's all that I saw of him or all that I knew, until we had a little road trip. Weren't we in a car together, or it was backstage? You, Owen,
yeah.
JR,
That's the first time we met.
So I saw a little bit more of, I guess, your humor, but you were still a little.
First time we met, after we've gone over it, me, Owen, Kurt. Kurt was just doing only dark matches, and Owen was looking for a ride. Believe it, but that's a shocker to the gym. And Kurt said he wanted to go, so Kurt, Karen, me, Owen rode to the gym at a Raw, and Owen was in rare form, and Kurt being the young guy and being able.
Owen was funny and nice. You were like stiff with your humor.
Here we go.
Like it was like that, like
ball busting humor.
Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop it.
So I still wasn't very impressed with him back then.
That's an interesting statement. Wasn't very impressed with him back then.
Yeah.
How did he start to grow on you?
I saw the other side of him, and we would see each other throughout the years and all had mutual friends. But the other side of him at TNA.
So, Karen, did you grow up a wrestling fan?
I did.
Okay.
I watched wrestling with my grandfather.
Who were your favorites as a kid?
Miss Elizabeth.
Okay.
Sherry Martel. Obviously Hulk Hogan. Like the usual, you know.
Did you ever think that you would like be a part of wrestling on camera? Because you were around the wrestling world for years before you were on camera.
Yes, but no. I know no.
I'll jump in and tell a story. Her grandfather, West Virginia, and Karen's father got really, really sick in her junior high and high school years. So there was a time where she actually moved in with her grandparents down in West Virginia. And when we married, got together, her grandparents actually moved down here. But so I got to know her grandfather really good. Paul's what we called him. We had a good connection. He, he was surrounded by his wife, his daughter, her mom, Karen, a bunch of women. And so they always would wait on him hand and foot about it, on everything. He hated that.
He did not.
Yeah, he did. So he could vent to me. But so we had a good relationship. And during the pandemic, I went over there every Sunday, just me and him. Anyway, but that's where I kind of dug in. I did my Conrad Thompson. So tell me.
It was sweet.
About
it's a side of Jeff people don't see.
So tell me about
Super
wrestling,
sweet.
all that kind of stuff. And man, oh man, in what's the town, the little town they're from? Living on a mountain.
Mount Olive, Montgomery, West Virginia.
Small little West Virginia town. He watched him some TBS wrestling, and boy, oh boy, he's in that Middle Atlantic territory, but he knew Dusty. Dusty was his favorite, and he just that generation of wrestling fans, and he loved it. He just absolutely.
He would get himself so upset.
Oh yeah,
he's one of those. Angry, and then when he found out that they were all buddies and would travel together, it was crushing to him.
But that was her, because I was asking selfishly too. I wanted to hear him, but that was her entry point. Grandfather, granddaughter, watching wrestling on Saturdays because she moved in with them for a year or two. But she would go visit them on weekends.
My parents weren't. We weren't allowed to watch it in the house.
Yeah.
They didn't like the whole
violence and all that. So.
So Jeff, when did you realize, hey, I think Karen could be good in front of the camera? Was there a moment where you thought, hey, there might be something here?
Buddy, if that wasn't the shock of the world, because it was Kurt's wife, in WWF, and then it was Kurt's wife in TNA, and we don't need to go deep into it, but I looked at Kurt as not just as a executive producer. We've got the guy that personifies total nonstop action, but that's business. From a personal point of view, I knew that I get to step out of the ring. It's like the total exhale that, okay, we're signing this guy to I think his first deal was 5 years, and we had an option for 6 and 7 around that. But anyway, we were signing him to a long-term deal. I had no more, Bob Carter committed, by far the biggest contract TNA had, like, by far, that we'd ever committed. So when I looked at it I'm like, okay, this is, however you want to say it, this is my Jerry Lawler, this is my Hulk Hogan, this is Buddy, all in. So when I looked at that, then I looked at that, okay, I know how marriage works. I know how relationships works. I knew what Kurt was coming out of. I didn't really know the depths of it, but I knew he had his issues because his manager, Jake Hawk, and we've told this story a couple of times, he was in Orlando, and he looked at me and he said, yeah, I think Kurt's going to come available. And I'm like, Dave, yeah, right. No, he's really going to be available. And I said, stay in touch. So when we got him, I looked at Karen as the ultimate support system. In a lot of ways, the success of Kurt is going to be the success of TNA, and who's going to be the one person that can make sure we're growing through this whole relationship is going to be the spouse. And so that's how I viewed her. And Kurt was battling his demons and gotten worse and all that. Okay, the solution, Dixie and
It's getting hot in here.
but Dixie and Vince Russo had, they had the conversations on however it may be, and Russo would call the house and talk to Kurt on creative and all that, because when we would leave our creative sessions, Dutch, you go take care of Joe, whatever. I let those guys go talk creative, the upcoming TVs, because I wanted them to be prepared going into TVs. So Russo had a good relationship with Kurt. Kurt had a lot of dialogue. So anyway, that's how it got going, that relationship. And again, it wasn't going real well. And then one of the solutions that Dixie, I don't know exactly how it came about. Let's let Karen, because it's not town to town to town, let's let Karen go with Kurt to Orlando for, a couple of days at a time. And Russo saw the charisma and said, hey, why don't we put her on the show? And I'm just like, I don't know about that. But my first question was, how's Kurt feel about it?
But it also goes against everything you were raised on.
True. I'll let her tell that version of it.
What does that mean?
I mean, he was raised, his dad was, you keep your spouse or your wife away from the business. So it's the complete opposite of what you were raised to be successful. You keep your spouse at home, away from the industry.
We talked about it this weekend, me and Tony Falk, and then when I saw Lawler at GalaxyCon, because I was telling him different stories, and he was like, oh, wow, you went. I said, we went over to the house on 110, the landings, and he said, oh, God, I remember that house, all this, and I told him, retold him the Hulk story, and he was having fun with that. And I said, how long did you live in Memphis, in Hendersonville? Because he lived where I can look out my back door right now and look kind of catty corner and see his old house and lot. So I said, how long were you there? I thought it was like 2 years. And he goes, no, 3, 4. He lived here 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So he had a house here 7 years. That was because at that time, that was my dad's really mandate. Hey, you're going to be my top star. You're moving out of Memphis. You're going to live centrally located, but Hendersonville was an isolated little community where weren't really in Nashville. And he wanted, he didn't want the fan. Again, it's a different generation, but their mindset was they don't want this box office attraction.
At a grocery store.
At a grocery store. Or is he married, have kids? Is he is his wife his soccer mom? But just none of that. You are on a pedestal. And that was the mindset. And Lawler told me yesterday, he said, who I bought that house from? I said, I have no idea. I said, lay it on me. He said, Tojo. I said, Tojo? He said, yeah, that's another one of your dad's sell jobs. I said, what? He said, he told Tojo to move out of Nashville. Tojo always had an apartment, always go to the grocery store at 11 o'clock at night. And he's super secretive. But Tojo wanted no business with living in Hendersonville. But my dad talked him into buying a house and getting out of Nashville. But anyway, so that was, that was just kind of the generation in my mindset that she's alluding to. It's funny how she popped that out, but that was the reality. And so I just kind of said right then, my first thought was, oh, Russo or Dixie or both, or whoever, we're going to put Karen on TV. I was like,
I remember Vince being like 100% pushing for it, wanting it, and hearing that you were skeptical on it, and it was supposed to only be for a couple episodes, like 2 or 3 episodes, and then it turned into what it turned into.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you realize you enjoyed being in front of the camera, Karen? Was there a moment where you thought, hey, that was fun? Because I know at first you had to be nervous, right?
I was so nervous. I threw up backstage. It was, so nervous.
Was there a vignette or a skit or one appearance that stands out where you think, oh, yeah, that was when I was like, oh, this is fun?
It's not going to even, it wasn't fun to me, but I think at that point in time in life and the character that I got to play, I was able to release a lot of emotions that I couldn't release in real life. So I was able to play that out through a character, and then it became fun. Like when I got to work with Velvet Sky and the Beautiful People, it really became fun. And Tracy Brooks, and Yeah.
I mean, what a crazy and interesting story you have too. I mean, think about this, just to reframe this for folks. Your first match, if you will, is you and Jeff against Kurt and China. Like, when you just think about that in a vacuum.
Well, there was one before that, though, that I really didn't have to do anything. And I can remember you made fun of me for it. It was Kurt and I against the Steiner brothers.
Oh, gosh.
And I showed up with blue, like, yoga pants and, like, a white tank top with sequins on. And you and Vince Russo were making fun of me, asking me where my baton was. Like, because I looked like a baton twirler, like, for a band. Right. And I was very naive to the business, didn't understand it, and thought, like, oh, like, Scott Steiner and Rick, like, they're so sweet to me. They're big teddy bears, love my kids. I go out there, and I mean, they're full on in character mode. I was scared to death. And they're yelling at me and saying, it was one of the scariest moments that I've had, because I was like, they're really pissed at me. Like, they're really going off on me out here.
It was still real to you, damn it.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I thought, holy crap, what did I do wrong? What spot did I miss? Why is Scotty so pissed at me right now? Like, yeah, that was stressful.
And I don't want to, I'm not trying to jump ahead, because with the knockout, I think her career, the time in TNA, because the knockouts went from 2 girls to 4 girls to 6 girls to 8 girls. And it just got into that time where all of a sudden we had to have a director of authority, a figurehead, storyteller, and all that. That to me is when all of a sudden it just and look, because you did the AJ Styles story.
That was fun.
That was entertaining too. That was
yeah.
But anyway, all of a sudden the roles really started matching up. That worked. And I can remember her with her Vince Russo 2 or 3 pages of dialogue, and I would always get on him and just say, God, Vince, that's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. No, trust me, bro. We'll because I was worried about going over time, editing and all that.
You just thought I couldn't do it.
Well, a little of both, but no. but the segments were always really, really good and rated so high.
Did you have fun doing it?
I did. And I was sad when I stopped. Like, I did miss it. I loved it.
Are there any other, stories you'd like to tell in wrestling, or people you'd like to work with? Like, do you still think about wrestling that way?
Oh, goodness.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can cut me off.
Just the whole. And again, I forget the timelines, but her being the figurehead, authority figure, with the knockouts, the beautiful people, Gail, Kong. I mean, there was 8 or 10 ODB. There was so much left on the table that we never got to. There was a lot of creative stuff. I can remember when it was all just kind of going to shit there. That I'm just like, man, this is bad timing for everything.
I think everybody wants one last run or another run. I just don't know that there's that place for me now.
Tough. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, I know when I look back on, and I don't know if we're jumping ahead, when I look back on the AEW career that we've had together, unbelievable blessing. I mean, she debuted against FTR.
Great guys.
I can remember in Vegas, F.U. Karen.
Yeah.
Night 1.
Yeah.
It's fun to be hated.
I can remember.
You're good at it.
I can remember me and Mansuri afterwards. He's like, they love little Miss Karen out there. I said, now don't they? But that was like, she hadn't been on TV in
a long time.
A long time. And Dax and Cash were the ones out of nowhere pushed, because it was me, Satnam, Sanjay, Jay. We had 4 in the group. And I think Dax
individually, but he's like, man, there's a great spot here, and she appears and do this. And I'm like, oh, wow. And
Thanks, Dax.
Yeah, and that just kind of started rolling things. And, we've when she cracked Aubrey with the guitar, I mean, again, there's a couple of different moments that we've got to work together. Wembley was cool, walking out in that.
The biggest crowd in wrestling history, by the way.
Yeah.
But that Casino Gauntlet the following year, that big long ramp.
Huge pop.
Yeah.
And that was a bucket list moment for us. Just cool that we got to experience it together at that stage. There's a couple of moments like that have been special.
I was in a place where I did not miss the business and was really happy where I was in life. And then these two guys got together and wanted to do, gosh, what was it? I think it had Ric Flair involved in it.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not familiar with
Ric
this.
Flair's last match. And it was like, I didn't realize how much I missed being around the business and wanted to be back in.
I don't think I knew that either until we were doing the press conference. And then when we did like promo photos after, and you were in like professional gear attire, I was like, oh, okay.
Hello.
We're going to see Karen kick it into gear here. I'd only known casual Karen.
Yeah.
And now I was going to see business Karen, and that was fun.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite moments in wrestling, just personally, where you were like, that's probably when I was having the most fun?
When I was having the most fun?
Yeah, when you
beating
think
up
back
Flair
on
in
it.
the parking lot.
God, that was so fun.
She absolutely was completely in her element. I don't even know how well you knew David Crockett.
I can remember all of you were there, and I was like, I had a white suit on, and I wanted to wear white because I was like, I know he's going to bleed. He's going to bleed. And I can remember getting up, and I was like, oh, God, that's all that got on me. So I was like trying to wipe off the concrete and put blood on me.
Sick.
And the crew, like everybody was looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with her? But that by far, working that angle and program is my number one favorite thing that I've done
All
in this
right.
business. It is. That was, I know it was stressful for you guys on your end, but just there and being there was someone from every company.
Yes.
Like everyone came together from all wrestling companies.
Even in the front row.
Yes.
The Undertaker sat front row for a wrestling match. I mean, that's a sentence.
Yes.
Kid Rock was second row.
Yes.
That's wild.
But just even the performers on the show.
Sure. Yeah, Bully Ray, when you and Megan got into it,
he goes,
was completely convinced that was not planned.
Yes.
And my wife had lost her S, and you guys got into it.
Yes.
It was awesome.
He said, I walked in the back, and he pulled his cheek, and he was like, hook, line, and sinker. You had my ass, you know? But it just, everybody worked together. Nobody was working against each other, and it was just so fun. Mm-hmm. So fun.
You were fantastic in it. Jeff, one of the things you and I love talking about, and it makes us laugh even to this day, is when you and Rick and Andrade and everybody was laying the match out backstage ahead of time. And there's the discussion about, do you know this story?
It was a move. Rick wanted someone to
so Rick
defeat. Yes, I know.
We've worked the match out 4 or 5 times,
Mhm.
and they've had all these practice matches. It's phenomenal every time. And now the day of, Charlotte shows up, and she wants to make a few changes.
Mhm.
And so now everything's
Suggestions.
Yes. So now things are being renegotiated a little bit. And Rick just starts casually mentioning on multiple occasions, and this is when Jeff will take the Canadian Destroyer, and this is when Jeff will take the Destroyer, and this is when Jeff will take the Canadian. And every time Jeff has his head down, but he just cuts his eyes up at me, and we're just looking, and he knows, and I know what that means. And then at one point, he hits me with the Danny DeVito and the little silent, nope, not going to do that. But I'm saying all that to say, as we fast forward and we think about the interaction you had with Megan, I can't help but remember when we were at the practice ring a few days prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember this, but she says, "Now, Megan, you're going to need to lay it in. I don't want it to look bad. This is a big moment for Jeff and your dad, so I'm just going to need you to hit me
Be
for
stiff.
real." And my wife is a vapor, and so she
I remember we were standing between the
won't be a
two rings.
problem.
Yeah. And
And to me, those two moments are what I'll remember most. Is you with your head shake of, I'm not doing a Canadian. Nope, not doing that. And my wife going, that won't be a problem. The idea of I don't have to learn how to pretend to hit Karen. I can just hit Karen. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I can remember sending you a picture of when I got home and washed my hair and brushed my hair, all my hair extensions that came out. Because when she grabbed my hair, she like really was whipping me around by my hair and ripped my hair out. And it was fun. But I think the other part of it, even though Cody and the kids have been on us through our journey, for Cody to be a part of that and to be able to be there. And what kid gets to say that he got to wrestle around with Ric Flair, Andrade, Jay Lethal, and his dad? You know, like.
It happens.
Yeah. But it just, the whole package of it.
What's the hardest part of being a wrestling wife, do you think?
Yesterday. Cody and I left here yesterday. This is the part for me. I was wrecked yesterday.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about, go ahead.
The questions when you asked Jeff, like, is there any box that he still wants to check off? Or the last match.
I saw the moment and I pivoted.
And he said the finality of having a last match. Like he just
doesn't want to let it go.
Yeah. No matter how much he loves all the other ends of the business, seeing that side and thinking about not just him, but the other guys that are still showing up everywhere and still wanting to be a part of the business. That's hard. Like hearing him say that broke my heart, because I think the majority, 95% of the male or female talent think about, what is my last match going to be? Or I'm going to do this for my last match. And to hear him say that he doesn't think he can or doesn't want to, or the finality of it would be too hard, like.
That's today. Things could change. You never know.
You never know, but still the fact that that's in your brain that's sad.
Let's talk about some fun stuff.
Let's do it.
Jeff has had a wild career, to say the least, and he lives in an interesting place with, celebrity all around him.
Yeah.
You've lived that life for a long time, but if you weren't you and you could step out of your life for a minute, who do you think are Jeff's most interesting friendships or relationships or business partners through the year? Just as far as interesting people that you've ran across where you thought, did not see that coming, would not have expected that from that guy.
Toby Keith would probably be the number one. Like,
why was Toby so interesting to you?
The experiences I had with Toby, and not all of you, I think yesterday you guys got to see the other side of Jeff that we get to see on a daily basis, of fun Jeff, funny Jeff.
Tony Falk wanted to wear all those cosplays. I was just a facilitator.
He's very silly, very silly. The experiences that I've had with Toby are very serious, or were very, and just, he's a country singer. He's just two different worlds, but they had a really, not just a business but a very close friendship. But I think at the same time, you were both very different in your worlds.
Mm-hmm.
He's a country boy. You're not that way, or not that type. Gosh, I don't know. There's not a lot of relationships. Is there somebody I'm
trying to think of.
I think everyone that you're pretty close to or do business with, you fit with really well.
I hope. I don't know. That's a good question, guys.
It is,
I'm
because
trying to think of.
Because we know you dabble in a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
In all of your business relationships, it's all very fitting.
Yeah.
Like there's not.
If Jeff would have not wound up in wrestling, you know him better than anybody else. What do you think his chosen profession could have been? What would Jeff have done really well if he didn't choose wrestling?
He would still be promoting in some other industry. He's a great salesman.
You mean as far as a live event, a musician?
I think it would be either music. He loves all sports.
So would he have been a sports agent, or what do you think?
I don't think he'd be a sports agent, but he would definitely be with an organization where he would be either running live events, international. Like, you're so gifted in those, to me, what I see from the outside.
When you have a chance to catch old Jeff stuff, so sort of pre-Karen Jeff in wrestling, is there one match or story or moment that still tickles you, that makes you happy?
No, but I think he was really hot in the "Don't Piss Me Off" era.
What'd you like about "Don't Piss Me Off," Jeff?
Just hot.
Oh boy,
the haircut,
the guns,
How about
I don't know, just that whole. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
I learned something here.
Yeah.
Today.
He's gonna start wearing cut up T-shirts around the house.
That's right.
Karen, you've been around wrestling for a long time, but a lot of times we hear people say kind of sad things about wrestling. I heard Ric Flair say once that Mosca told him once, if you get to 40 years old and you've got 5 friends, you've done better than anybody else. Do you think you've made any like lifelong friendships or relationships in wrestling?
Ooh, Conrad, this is a stiff subject for me. I could probably, the one person that I know is our friend and that has become our family throughout the wrestling business, Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
He'll be with us the whole way through. I think Jeff, Brian James, like but I could count on one hand the people that this business, it's a
What have you done for me lately, industry?
And it's their career. Everyone's out for themselves. Everyone wants on TV. You do play the politics. You see everyone. You enjoy seeing everyone. But when you're off TV or you're not there at the shows, who's ringing your phone or who's texting you? It's very few and very far between.
Well, I know what to ask when I got Karen in front of me.
What?
Who switched it up on you?
Who switched it up on me?
Mm-hmm.
What do you
were
mean?
friendly, and now you've maybe seen a different side of them, and you wonder, boy, with the benefit of hindsight, were they really my friend?
Oh. There's only one on that list that I can think of that was friendly in the beginning and then freaking. I don't think that, and I don't want to say the name because we don't say it around here. But I don't think
Does she live nearby?
Oh, probably about 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Okay. I'm picking up what
I
you're
don't
putting
think
down.
there's anyone that ever turned on me, but I think it's you show up to work, you're social, you're nice, but that's what it is. Make sense?
It does make sense. Has that been the most frustrating thing about your wrestling experience, or what has been your most rewarding and your most frustrating thing?
I don't think it's frustrating. The most frustrating thing for me is I get upset because I don't think that Jeff gets the respect that he deserves, and I want him to have this one last major run, whether I'm there with him or not. I want that for him. The most enjoyable or most memorable for me is being able to have the opportunity, but also my family being able to be a part of it with us. That's huge for me. that the kids have always been able to be there and be a part of it. And just that I did have the opportunity, and I've had a second and third chance at being there with my husband.
Jeff, does the chain end with you? That was Teeny, and then there was your dad, and now there's Double J. Is there going to be a next generation of Jarrett?
When I look at it and look at, I'm one of 5.
Lord have mercy, Conrad.
It's so far out of my hands when who knows? Because I definitely won't steer that ship, because I do think when I look at in this business, the kids that were forced into the business, just George Goulas is the first one. And look, I'm friends with George to this day, but there's certain, you got to really want this. Like, nothing can step in your way. That you can't be told no. I tell that in every seminar. Any kid that asks advice, I get emails from time to time, and I don't say it just to flap my gums. If you really don't want this business, my God, get out, because you're doing the business and yourself a disservice. You have to want it so bad so that to be successful, you got to sacrifice. But that goes with anything. Be the world's best basketball player, best banker, or whatever chosen profession. You do got to make a lot of sacrifices. In this business today, that's to me one of the things that keeps me driven a lot is the evolution of it, because there are, the celebrities putting their toe in, which I think is great for the business, but
I don't.
But who? It gets eyeballs. But who is those day in and day out folks that are the glue of the business? That's what I'm curious to see. What's it look like? I won't be around, but what's it gonna look like? Not next generation, but the 2 generations from now, because the folks in, day out, really grinding. The business has never slowed down. It's never, in reality, it's shrunk, but it's like the stock market. It's a gradual go up. You've got dips. So where does it go? I'm curious to see where all that evolves. So what skill sets work today? There's going to be new skill sets needed in the future. So, but you're asking about the generations of us. I don't know.
Want to grow your business with the power of podcast advertising? Reach loyal, engaged audiences through trusted host endorsements across the Podcast Heat Network. To learn more about advertising opportunities, email dave@podcastheat.com or visit our website at podcastheat.com.
Karen, you mentioned you didn't necessarily like celebrity involvement in wrestling.
I don't.
Why not?
I don't think that it's fair for the talent that put in the work every day, every weekend, every week, year after year after year. And then you've got, whether it brings eyeballs or not, that's someone being taken off that show for the celebrity to be there, or celebrity matches. And I don't like it. I don't think it's right. That's someone else that's been on that roster that has worked their butt off that's being taken off that show.
She doesn't look. She looks through a wrestler's eyes, Connie.
Oh, I'm picking
I
that
do?
up. Oh yeah, for sure. That's a wrestler answer. That's not a bad thing. Well, can you tell me how you've seen the business evolve? Because you've been a part of some pretty meteoric rises in wrestling. You've seen the business from the WWF side. You've seen it from the TNA side. You saw the startup of Global Force, and then the return to Impact Wrestling, and now the whole AEW journey, and of course you've seen independence along the way. The business has evolved a lot since you've been involved.
And not all in good ways.
That's what I wanted to ask. What do you like that's changed, and what do you miss about the old way?
I think when I first started coming around the business with Kurt, families weren't really welcome. So that's for sure a positive. Like, it has dramatically changed in that way.
You used to feel unwelcome?
There was a point in time where they didn't want me to even walk with him. Or
when you're saying that, you mean WWF?
Yes. Like, it wasn't
And you don't mean to the ring. You just mean
out in London in public, like not to go. It was like they wanted that private side of their lives, like, or the wives and the kids weren't really welcome backstage at the shows. Now you've got kids running around, strollers. It just, which I think creates a better environment for the talent. The downside of the major downside, I think, for the business is you've got guys coming in that don't put the work in that the guys did or women did for years. They're not, as do wrestling talk here, paying their dues and getting a lot of money. And it's just like if you spoil your kids at home, they're running around like spoiled brats in these companies and not having respect for the men and women in the industry that paved the way for them. I have a very hard time and get very disgusted by that. And I think social media, I know people love it. I'm on there, I do it, but I think it reveals too much.
Can you expand on that?
Where we used to have to we had to wait. We wanted to see what was going to happen next week, or we were waiting for that pay-per-view. You're seeing more of people's real lives. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to explain it correctly, but they've got this on-screen feud, and we know it's scripted, but it's still on screen. It would be like if you're watching a movie or a drama or an action show, and then right in the middle of it, they cut to their personal life with whatever's going on with their home, and then they go back to the show. I don't like that part of it.
We've had the conversation.
I'm not good at I'm not as good at explaining things as Jeff, but I still want to believe. I still want to get mad. I want to hate somebody. I want to laugh. I want to feel sorry for somebody. And if we were in the middle of a storyline, I wouldn't be posting all my personal stuff. I think it takes away from what is on the show.
The suspension of disbelief has become harder and harder and harder, and that we've had those conversations.
And I want to like yearn to watch that next show.
I don't want to be all negative, so let's talk about something positive.
Am I being negative?
Not at all. I've asked negative questions,
Okay.
so you've given me the appropriate answers, so I appreciate that. Is there anybody in wrestling, or name some people, if there are multiples, that you really admire and respect, and you think, man, I really like that person. They had a meaningful contribution to wrestling, whoever that may be. I'm not necessarily asking for promoters, but there's got to be someone where you're like, man, this is an impressive person.
I'm sitting right next to him, Conrad.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
I am.
All right.
And I know the next one, and I'm gonna get heat for this, probably from you and from him.
Oh, Lord, this could be good.
Because there's people that Jeff and I don't always agree on everything. Vince Russo.
Tell me about that.
I do. I have a lot of respect for him. I may not agree with everything he brings to the business or his actions or what he does, but you look at the year span that he's been around the business and what he has contributed to it. Eric Bischoff, mad respect for that guy. He continues to contribute to the business, whether it's through podcast or whatever else he's working on or whatever else he's doing. Road Dogg. I hate the situation that he's in. I think it's great for his life, but crazy respect for him. And he cares about the talent and the people in the business.
Almost too much.
You think that story ever comes out, Jeff?
Oh, I want it to.
It has to.
I want it to. Not our place, but I want it to.
There's a saying in sobriety, always do the next right thing, and he lives by that. To the detriment of his back pocket.
Yeah.
I got to ask, what was your experience like with Vince McMahon?
I never had a bad experience with Vince. I was around him through the years. And if it wasn't for him, none of us would be here. That's Conrad, you're going to get me a lot of hate because there's people are going to want me to say things that I'm not going to want to say.
You can only share your experience.
Yeah, I mean, we all got issues.
Sure.
Do I think the situation he's in?
Well, we weren't there for that. I just meant your experience with him.
I had great experiences with him. And
do you think he did right by you and your family?
Absolutely. I do.
Do you think your family is better for having Vince McMahon in their life?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yes.
That same line of questioning with Dixie Carter?
Oh.
The studio audience just responded.
The bottom just fell out, kids. Conrad. Whew. There's so many what ifs or what could have been. We're in a great place now. But that, to me, and I didn't realize until about 6 months ago how much rage and hate I still have for that woman, like to the depth that I have for that woman. She tried to destroy my husband, but only made us stronger. Everything happens for a reason, I try to tell myself, and it was all part of God's plan, but that woman, she caused a lot of pain, and a lot of people lost their jobs just for being associated with Jeff Jarrett.
Do you think she did that intentionally?
Her ego. Absolutely, I think she did it intentionally. I think she is a very vain, evil woman. She has no idea how Jeff protected her from herself for years, how Vince Russo protected her from herself for years.
At least in your view, do you think Dixie was a net positive or a net negative for wrestling as a whole?
1,000% a net fucking negative.
I wish you had a strong opinion about this. I do want to ask you about somebody else that a lot of people have a strong opinion about, but I wonder if those people have ever met him. What's your experience been like with Tony Khan?
That man gets so much shit online that he does not deserve. He is one of the kindest human beings that I have met. And I can say this, since we're on the subject of these two people, where Dixie wouldn't compensate talent or wouldn't compensate female wrestlers, Tony Khan goes above and beyond to compensate his wrestlers and the people that work for him. Maybe sometimes too much, in my opinion, but he takes care of the people that work for him no matter what level you're on.
Tell us something about Jeff Jarrett that
my heart's pounding out of my chest right now.
Well, I'm going to make it easy here.
Jeff's like,
you turned the faucet on.
We're going to go easy here. Tell us something that would surprise people about Jeff Jarrett. Like, we all see Jeff in front of the camera.
Yes,
but Jeff,
he's so serious.
He takes himself very seriously.
Yes.
But I've seen, and I know, there's a silly Jeff too.
So silly.
He and I are on 40 different group chains, and it is he and I busting balls of strangers pretty consistently. And that's the real Jeff Jarrett. But I don't think a lot of people
Nobody
see that.
gets to. I think you guys that are here today got to see a little bit of that yesterday from what I heard. But there is always, 24/7 smack talk in our house. Silliness. Or I wouldn't say 24/7, but.
Well, I'm going to steal Cody's line.
You're just that damn good?
I'm just that good.
What do you want your family legacy to be?
Let's back up. What is the one thing? What was that question you asked?
Well, I asked what's the one thing that maybe fans will be surprised about.
Is there
about
something?
Jeff?
I'm curious. Is it the
Just
silly stuff?
The silly stuff,
Okay.
but you're also you're so, you are loving. I think my perception is he never wants to show that, he walks up to someone and he's like, like the side hugs and the seriousness. And I think he protects himself also to his own detriment of what can happen in this business. People can accuse somebody of something or whatever else, but you're very caring and loving.
Okay.
You are.
Okay.
See?
I'll take that.
He's sweet.
Is it true that Jeff is a good cook?
He is a good cook. He's a good grill master.
What does Jeff cook?
I will say this. I didn't have to cook on the grill once since I moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee, till we got that damn Rectech grill. And then he was like, honey, this is easy for you.
It's like an outdoor oven, kind of.
It is, and I love it, but I was very spoiled in the way that I didn't have to go out there in 90 degrees and cook on the grill.
Megan would say the exact same thing.
Yes.
Pre-Rectech, I did.
But
all
I
of
do
the
love
grilling.
that grill.
What's Jeff's? What's his favorite thing that he makes for you that you really like?
I would say steak, like good filet.
Yeah. She likes that is one thing. She likes her well done.
I don't do well done. I do
or
medium well.
Medium.
Wait, you burn fillets?
I don't burn it. I don't want.
It's a crime.
I do not burn them.
Wait a minute.
I just don't
Wait a
want
minute.
blood. I just want a little bit of pink.
It's a crime.
I don't want blood on my plate.
Poor pitiful Karen.
Yes, it's a crime.
Poor pitiful Karen. I think the thing that a lot of people would be surprised about, at least the people who are negative Nancy's about Jeff, who don't really understand. I don't think they know the important work he does that we can't talk about because a lot of it is anonymous if you're picking up what I'm putting down. But also, too, the type of dad he's been in a unique family dynamic that's blended and has special circumstances. And I think he's answered the call better than a lot of people would ever give him credit for.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Yes. You'll get me all.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get. When I say that God knew what he was doing when he put Cody and Jeff in each other's lives, whew. But I also think, and I'm going to bring up some stuff that you can cut out or not use.
Oh, boy.
If Jeff hadn't gone through in his life what he went through with his parents, he wouldn't work so hard to make Kira and Cody feel like he loves them and he is their dad too, and because I think so many families that goes missed along the way, or it doesn't happen. But he didn't have that, so he makes sure and he gives it to my kids.
Yeah, that's worth a round of applause. I'm for that. I do want to ask any final words that you'd like to share with the world about your husband as we're here celebrating him and his 40-year career.
He's not a bad guy.
Oh.
He's a really good guy.
I do think
Really
that's
good.
probably the biggest misconception.
It is.
Everyone I've ever met with Jeff, I would always, I used to describe him on Bruce's show as the human fast forward button because I hated him. I just hated him so much. I want to fast forward. I just hate him so much. Then you meet him in real life and you're like, oh, this guy's really good at his job. I actually love this guy.
Yes.
But man, his job was to make us hate him, and he's really good at his job.
And there's some days he can still do that, but
Yeah.
but then he fixes everything and it's all good. But
Still,
that's I guess, and even through the podcast, people have loved getting to see another side of him. But I wish that he's so damn serious. And anything with business he's so serious about. I wish you would show more of just you.
See?
Just you.
She's trying to produce me now.
I am. I am.
Oh, that's in my, I don't know.
Well, Miss Jarrett, we really appreciate you hanging out
Thanks
with
for
us today.
having
This
me.
was fun. You sharing
Was
your
it?
husband with him.
Was it fun,
with us.
Conrad?
It was fun. No, I mean,
I'm kidding.
I know what everybody's going to gravitate to. I know that there's going to be some clips in here that people get really excited about, but I just think that, I would like to see more of Karen on TV. I think you're
Me
a really
too.
talented performer, and I appreciate that you can turn it on, and I've seen you turn it on, and it's fun to watch, and I hope it's never directed at me.
Well, you know what?
Never will be.
We should.
You're a good dude.
We shouldn't end this without.
If they're going to like the clips from this, and I'm not plugging it, but I'm just saying it's because I've watched the 3 episodes.
I didn't want to give any spoilers. Yeah.
I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there is so much of this man's life that is going to be revealed in the 3 episodes of The Dark Side of the Ring that come from other people's mouths. That there have been so many misconceptions on.
Because Jeff never policed the narrative.
No.
He just let them talk.
And he has been painted the villain that I'm going to be screaming from the mountaintops.
Wow.
When those air and people can hear from other people's mouths. He wasn't the bad guy.
He's not a bad guy.
In multiple scenarios.
I may or may not be a bad guy right now, Miss Karen, because we're going to do a very special photo op with you and the king and the queen of the mountain.
Okay.
With the old NWA world title, which is kind of fun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you got something?
I got one last thing that you know, talking about the Karen, but and this is a low hanging fruit Mick Foley plug, but all kidding aside is that, you know, she's like a lot of folks, a scroller and this and that, but Karen's TikTok channel, she has gotten into that and the TikTok shop and all that.
I fall into rabbit holes.
But no, she's doing these videos and she's like, what do you think this? What do you think that? I said, Karen, that's you. Throw it out there. So I think it's interesting as yes, husband, but kind of a thinking media-wise to watch this TikTok person. It's not personality, but her TikTok develop is a lot of fun because she'll do the most random stuff. And it's like,
I have no niche,
yeah, the one yesterday, I need to go in. Cody's working out in the gym. I need to go in there, but I don't want to talk to anybody. I would never say that on camera. I mean, that ain't me. She's like, no, I don't want to go in there. Why don't you want to go in there? I don't want to talk to nobody. What? Anyway, the authenticity that she's sharing on TikTok it humors me.
We appreciate you making time to be here.
Thank you, guys.